My daughter's perfect college dream became a nightmare when I discovered what the elite student council was really doing behind closed doors. My daughter got into her dream university on a full scholarship. Within months, she went from a confident straight-A student to someone I barely recognized. Exhausted, secretive, and terrified. When I finally uncovered what the prestigious student council was doing to its members, I realized we were fighting against an entire system designed to protect the powerful. My daughter, Sophie, was always brilliant. Not just book-smart, but genuinely intellectually curious. She'd stay up late reading philosophy texts for fun, debate current events at dinner, and manage to graduate high school with a 4.0 while volunteering at 3 different organizations. When she got accepted to Westmont University with a full academic scholarship, I was the proudest father alive. Her mother passed away when Sophie was 10, so it's been just us two navigating life together. Watching her succeed felt like proof I hadn't completely failed at single parenting. Westmont isn't Ivy League, but it's prestigious in our state. Old money families send their kids there. The campus looks like something from a movie, with stone buildings covered in ivy and perfectly manicured lawns. Sophie was over the moon. She'd worked so hard for this, and I made sure she knew how proud I was. Move-in day was emotional. I helped her set up her dorm room, met her roommate briefly, and gave her the speech about staying safe, calling home, all that dad stuff. She rolled her eyes but hugged me tight before I left. The first month was normal. Sophie called twice a week, full of excitement about her classes, professors, the campus culture. She joined the philosophy club and was considering trying out for the student newspaper. Everything seemed perfect. Then, around October, she mentioned something called the Apex Council during one of our calls. "Dad, guess what? I got nominated for the Apex Council," she said, her voice brimming with pride. I had no idea what that was, so I asked. Apparently, it was this highly selective student leadership organization at Westmont. Only about 20 students each year got invited to join, all recommended by faculty or current members. It was supposed to be the pinnacle of student achievement. Members got special networking opportunities, exclusive internships, and basically a golden ticket to success after graduation. "That sounds amazing, sweetheart," I told her. "Are you going to accept?" "Of course. Everyone says it's the best thing you can do at Westmont. All the most successful alumni were in Apex Council." I was thrilled for her. Sophie deserved recognition for her hard work. Looking back, that conversation was the beginning of everything falling apart, but I had no way of knowing. The changes started subtle. Our weekly calls became shorter, more sporadic. When we did talk, Sophie sounded tired. She said it was just the workload from being on the council, lots of events to plan, meetings to attend, projects to manage. I figured it was normal college stress. She was taking a full course load while handling these extra responsibilities. Of course she'd be exhausted. But then Thanksgiving came. Sophie came home for the break, and I barely recognized her. She'd lost weight, enough that her clothes hung loose on her frame. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She spent most of the holidays sleeping or staring at her phone with this anxious expression. When I asked if everything was okay, she snapped at me. "I'm fine, Dad. Just tired. College is harder than high school, you know." Her tone shut down any further questions. I tried bringing it up again later, more gently, but she insisted everything was great. The council was amazing. She was learning so much. She just needed to catch up on sleep. I wanted to believe her, so I did. She went back to campus after the break, and I told myself she'd bounce back once she got some rest. I was wrong. December was worse. Sophie stopped calling altogether. I'd text her and get one-word responses hours later. When I finally got her on the phone, she sounded almost robotic. Classes were fine. Council was fine. Everything was fine. But her voice had this flat quality that scared me. This wasn't my daughter. Sophie was passionate, animated, full of life. This person on the phone sounded like a shell. Christmas break, she came home again. If Thanksgiving was concerning, Christmas was alarming. Sophie looked sick. Her skin was pale, almost gray. She'd lost more weight. She barely ate, picking at food I knew she used to love. She spent hours locked in her room, and I'd hear her crying through the door. When I knocked, she'd claim she was fine, just emotional about a movie or something equally dismissive. One night, I heard her on the phone around 2 in the morning. I got up to check on her and heard her voice through the door, high and stressed. I know. I'll have it done by tomorrow. I promise. Please don't tell Chancellor Brooks. I'm trying my best. There was a pause, then, I understand. Yes. I'm sorry. My stomach twisted. Something was very wrong. The next morning, I confronted her over breakfast. Sophie, who were you talking to at 2 a.m.? She froze, coffee cup halfway to her mouth. Just a council member. We had a project deadline. A project deadline over Christmas break? At 2 in the morning. It's important, Dad. You wouldn't understand. Then explain it to me. She stood up abruptly. I don't have to explain everything to you. I'm an adult. She left the kidhood, leaving me sitting there feeling helpless. I wanted to push harder, but I was also afraid of pushing her away completely. So I backed off, telling myself I'd keep a closer eye on things when she returned to campus. January hit, and Sophie barely made it through the door before heading back to Westmont. She claimed she needed to prepare for the spring semester. I offered to drive her, but she insisted on taking the bus. That hurt more than I expected. We'd always been close, and now she couldn't even stand a 2-hour car ride with me. After she left, I did something I'm not proud of. I went through her room. I know, massive invasion of privacy, but my gut was screaming that something was terribly wrong. In her desk drawer, I found a notebook. The first few pages were normal class notes, but about halfway through, the tone changed. The handwriting became jagged, almost frantic. There were lists of tasks with times next to them. 3 a.m. Submit policy proposal revision. 5 a.m. Review member applications. 6 a.m. Prepare presentation for Chancellor. 3 in the morning? 5. What kind of student organization demanded work at those hours? There were other entries too, more disturbing. Failed inspection today. Thomas said I need to be more committed. Maybe he's right. I'm not working hard enough. And later, slept 3 hours. Feel like I'm losing my mind, but everyone else handles this fine. I just need to try harder. My hands shook as I read. This wasn't normal stress. This was something else entirely. I immediately called Sophie. She didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. I sent a text. We need to talk. Now. Hours passed. Finally, she replied, busy. Can't talk. I wasn't accepting that. I called the university's main number and asked to speak with someone about student welfare. After being transferred 3 times, I ended up with a dean of students named Victoria Hayes. I explained my concerns, the weight loss, the exhaustion, the middle-of-the-night work demands. Dean Hayes listened patiently, then assured me that Westmont took student well-being very seriously. She'd look into it and get back to me. She never did. I called twice more over the next week, left messages, sent emails. Nothing. It was like my concerns disappeared into a void. February came, and Sophie stopped responding to my texts entirely. I'd send messages every day. How are you? Miss you. Please call. Silence. I was losing my mind with worry. Finally, I decided to drive to campus unannounced. I needed to see her with my own eyes. The drive to Westmont took 2 hours, and I spent the entire time rehearsing what I'd say. I didn't want to ambush her, but I also refused to sit back while something clearly destructive was happening to my daughter. I arrived at her dorm around noon on a Saturday, figuring she'd be there between classes and whatever council activities consumed her time. I knocked on her door. Her roommate answered, a girl I vaguely remembered from move-in day. She looked uncomfortable when she saw me. Oh, Mr. Patterson. Sophie's not here. Where is she? I think she's at the Apex Council house. She's there a lot. The council has a house? The roommate nodded. Yeah, it's that old Victorian on Elm Street, just off campus. The university owns it, but only council members are allowed inside. That struck me as odd. Why would a student organization need its own building with restricted access? I thanked her and headed to Elm Street. The house was exactly as described. A large Victorian mansion, immaculately maintained, with a university seal displayed prominently by the door. I knocked. No answer. I tried the handle. Locked. I walked around the building, looking for another entrance or a window I could peer through. The curtains were drawn on every window. As I circled back to the front, a young man emerged. dressed in a suit despite it being a Saturday. He looked at me with suspicion. "Can I help you? I'm looking for my daughter, Sophie Patterson. I was told she might be here." His expression shifted to something I couldn't quite read. "Members only in the house. If you'd like to contact Sophie, I suggest calling her. I've been trying. She's not responding." "Then perhaps she doesn't wish to speak with you." He said it so coldly, so matter-of-factly, that I was stunned. "Excuse me? I'm her father, and she's an adult who's made commitments to this organization. We take those commitments seriously." The way he said commitments sent a chill down my spine. What kind of commitments require a student to work at 3 in the morning? His face hardened. "I don't know what you're referring to, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This is private property. I'm not leaving until I see my daughter." He pulled out his phone. "Then I'll call campus security." I wanted to punch through that door, to storm the house and find Sophie, but I also knew that would accomplish nothing except getting me arrested. Reluctantly, I stepped back. "Fine. But tell Sophie her father is looking for her. Tell her I'm not going away." He closed the door without responding. I stood there for a moment, rage and helplessness warring inside me. Then I went back to my car and waited. If Sophie was in that house, she'd have to come out eventually. I waited for 4 hours. Students came and went, but none of them were Sophie. Finally, around 6 p.m., I saw her. She emerged from the house carrying a stack of binders, her face pale and drawn. She looked like she'd aged 5 years in the few months since I'd last seen her in person. I got out of my car and called her name. She froze, eyes widening in what looked like fear. "Dad, what are you doing here?" "Looking for you." "You stopped answering my calls." She glanced back at the house nervously. "You can't be here. You need to leave." "Sophie, what's going on? What is this place doing to you?" "Nothing. Everything's fine. Please, just go." I stepped closer, and that's when I really saw her. She was trembling. Her hands shook as she clutched the binders. "You're not fine. Look at you. When's the last time you slept? Ate a real meal?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I can't talk about this here." "Please, Dad." "Then come with me. Let's go get dinner, talk somewhere private." She shook her head frantically. "I can't. I have a presentation in an hour. Chancellor Brooks will be there. If I miss it..." What happens if you miss it?" She didn't answer, but the fear in her eyes told me everything. She was terrified of these people, of this organization. Before I could say anything else, the door opened behind her. A woman in her 40s stepped out, dressed professionally, with an air of authority. "Sophie, is there a problem?" Sophie straightened immediately, wiping her eyes. "No, Ms. Hood. This is my father. He was just leaving." Ms. Hood looked at me with cold assessment. "Mr. Patterson, I presume?" "I'm Rebecca Hood, faculty advisor for the Apex Council. Sophie's told us so much about you." The way she said it didn't sound friendly. "Have you?" "Because Sophie hasn't told me much about you or what you're doing to her." "Doing to her?" Ms. Hood smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We're providing her with opportunities beyond anything she could achieve elsewhere. Sophie is thriving here. She looks exhausted and terrified. She looks dedicated. There's a difference. Now, Sophie has responsibilities to attend to. I'm sure you understand." Sophie wouldn't meet my eyes. She mumbled a goodbye and followed Ms. Hood back into the house. The door closed, and I was left standing alone on the street, more worried than ever. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Sophie's face, the fear in her eyes, the way she trembled. Something was very wrong, but I had no idea how to fix it. The university had ignored my concerns. Sophie herself was pushing me away. I felt completely powerless. The next morning, I did what I should have done weeks ago. I started researching the Apex Council. What I found chilled me to the bone. The organization had been around for decades, producing numerous successful alumni, senators, CEOs, judges. On paper, it looked impressive. But when I dug deeper into forums and old university newspaper archives, I found hints of something darker. There was a student newspaper article from 15 years ago questioning the council's practices. It mentioned extreme work demands, sleep deprivation, and psychological manipulation. The article had been pulled from the paper's website, but I found it cached. The student journalist who wrote it had been expelled from Westmont 2 weeks after publication for academic misconduct. That seemed suspicious. I found more. A blog post from 5 years ago by a former member describing their experience. They talked about initiation rituals, constant surveillance, and demands that consumed every waking hour. They described being punished for insufficient commitment by being publicly humiliated in front of other members. The blog had been taken down, but again, cached versions existed. Most disturbing was a post on a mental health forum from 2 years ago. An anonymous user described their time in an unnamed elite student organization that sounded exactly like Apex Council. They talked about being required to complete tasks at all hours, having their sleep monitored, being told they were special and chosen, but also not working hard enough. They described developing severe anxiety and depression. The post ended with, "I finally escaped, but it took me years to recover." If you recognize these patterns, get out. They make you think you're the problem, that you're not strong enough, but it's them. It's always been them. I was reading about a cult. My daughter was in a cult. I'm going to continue this in another update. This is already getting long, and I need to process everything before I write about what happened next. If anyone has experience with campus organizations like this, or advice on how to help someone who's been indoctrinated, please share. I'm still figuring out how to get Sophie out of this. It's been a few days since my last post, and honestly, the responses have been overwhelming. Thank you to everyone who shared their experiences or offered advice. A few people mentioned that I should document everything, so that's what I've been doing. After finding those disturbing posts about the Apex Council, I knew I needed more concrete information. I couldn't just show Sophie some cached blog posts and expect her to see reason. She was too deep in whatever they'd done to her. So, I started reaching out to former Westmont students. I found a Westmont alumni group on social media and posted carefully, asking if anyone had information about Apex Council. Most responses were positive, people praising the organization, talking about the opportunities it provided. But I got 3 private messages that painted a very different picture. The first was from a woman named Jennifer who graduated 7 years ago. She'd been in Apex Council for 1 semester before withdrawing. She agreed to talk on the phone, and what she told me was horrifying. "They start slow," she explained. "First month is fine. You attend meetings, plan events, network. Seems normal. But then they introduce the development program. That's when things change." "What's the development program?" I asked. "It's supposed to teach leadership and resilience. But really, it's about control. They assign you a mentor, usually a senior member, who monitors everything you do. Your sleep schedule, your eating habits, your social interactions. They frame it as accountability, but it's surveillance. You have to submit daily reports about how you spent your time. If they decide you're not being productive enough, you get assigned extra tasks. Community service at midnight. Research projects due at dawn. It never stops." My stomach turned. "Why didn't you report this?" Jennifer laughed bitterly. "To who?" "The faculty advisor is in on it. The dean of students is an alum. Half the university administration are former members. Apex Council is protected at the highest levels. When I tried to quit, they threatened to revoke my scholarship. They said they'd contact all the companies I'd interviewed with and tell them I was unreliable. They have power, Mr. Patterson. Real power. How did you get out?" "My parents pulled me out of Westmont entirely. Transferred to another university. It was the only way." After talking to Jennifer, I contacted the other 2 people who'd messaged me. Their stories were similar. Constant demands, sleep deprivation, psychological manipulation, threats when they tried to leave. One of them, a guy named Thomas, described something he called elevation ceremonies. Every month, they hold this ceremony where members are either elevated or demoted based on their performance, Thomas explained. If you're elevated, everyone congratulates you, and you get special privileges. But if you're demoted, they make you stand in front of everyone while they list your failures. Your inadequate commitment, your weak character, your wasted potential. It's designed to break you down, make you desperate to prove yourself worthy. "That's psychological abuse," I said. "Yeah, but they call it character building. And the worst part? You start to believe it. You think if you just work harder, sleep less, Give more, you'll finally be good enough. But you never are. The goalposts keep moving. I asked Thomas how he escaped. I had a breakdown. Ended up in the hospital. My parents saw what was happening and hired a lawyer. Threatened the university with a lawsuit if they didn't let me leave the organization. Even then, Westmont made me sign an NDA. I'm probably violating it by talking to you, but I don't care anymore. Someone needs to expose them. Armed with this information, I tried calling Sophie again. She finally answered on the 5th attempt. Dad, I told you I'm busy. Sophie, I know what's happening. I talked to former members. This organization is hurting you. There was a long silence. Then quietly, you don't understand. Then help me understand. They chose me, Dad. Out of hundreds of nominees, they chose me. Do you know what that means? I'm special. I have potential. I just need to work harder to prove it. The words sounded rehearsed, like she was reciting something she'd been told. Sweetheart, you don't need to prove anything. You're already enough. That's easy for you to say. You don't have expectations. You don't have people counting on you. I'm your father. I have expectations. I expect you to be healthy and happy. That's it. You're making this harder, she said, her voice breaking. If you keep calling, keep showing up, they'll think I'm not committed. They'll demote me, or worse, expel me from the council. I'll lose everything. You'll lose nothing that matters. You don't get it, she shouted. This is what matters. This is my future. Without Apex Council, I'm nobody. She hung up. I tried calling back, but she'd blocked my number. I sat in my car, hands shaking with rage and helplessness. They'd gotten so deep into her head that she couldn't see the abuse for what it was. She believed she needed them, that her worth was tied to their approval. I needed help, professional help. I contacted a cult deprogramming specialist named Dr. Sarah Okonkwo. Yes, I said cult, because that's what this was. Dr. Okonkwo specialized in helping people leave high-control groups, including campus organizations that operated like cults. When I described the situation, she wasn't surprised. University cults are more common than people realize, she told me during our first phone consultation. They hide behind legitimacy. They're officially recognized, have faculty advisors, produce successful alumni. That makes it nearly impossible for outsiders to see them for what they are. But the patterns you're describing, love bombing followed by constant criticism, sleep deprivation, isolation from family, threats of losing everything if you leave, those are classic cult control tactics. How do I get her out? That's complicated. She has to want to leave, and right now, she's been conditioned to see the organization as her entire identity. The first step is maintaining contact, even if it's difficult. She needs to know you're there, that you won't abandon her. The second step is gentle questioning. Don't attack the organization directly. Instead, ask her questions that help her see the contradictions. Dr. Okonkwo gave me a list of questions. When do you feel happiest? Are you sleeping enough? Do you have time for things you enjoy? Do the leaders ever admit mistakes? Can you leave whenever you want? These questions were designed to plant seeds of doubt without triggering her defensive programming. But I couldn't ask them because Sophie had blocked me. I tried emailing. Blocked. I sent letters to her dorm. No response. It was like she'd disappeared entirely. In desperation, I drove back to campus in late February. This time, I didn't go to the Apex Council house. Instead, I waited near the academic buildings, hoping to catch Sophie between classes. I spent 3 days doing this, probably looking like a creep, but I didn't care. I needed to see her. Finally, on the third day, I spotted her walking across the quad. She looked worse than before. Thinner, paler, moving like every step required immense effort. I called her name. She didn't react, just kept walking. I jogged to catch up, placing myself in her path. Sophie, please. Just 5 minutes. She looked at me with empty eyes. I can't talk to you. Why not? Because you're toxic. You're holding me back from my potential. The words sounded foreign coming from her mouth. That wasn't Sophie talking. That was their programming. Who told you that? Everyone in Apex Council. They can see how you're damaging my progress with your neediness and your inability to understand excellence. Excellence? You look like you're dying. I'm being refined. Fire refines gold. It was like talking to a stranger. I tried a different approach, one of Dr. Okonkwo's questions. When was the last time you did something just for fun? Something you enjoyed? She frowned, confused. Fun isn't the priority right now. I'm building my future. When do you sleep? When I've earned it. And when is that? She didn't answer. I could see the cracks forming, the exhaustion breaking through her programmed responses. But before I could press further, 2 students approached. Both wore suits. Both had that same cold authority I'd seen from the guy at the council house. "Sophie, is this man bothering you?" one of them asked. "He's my father," she said quietly. "Has he been harassing you? Following you around campus?" I don't know." They turned to me. "Sir, you need to leave campus immediately, or we'll contact security. I'm visiting my daughter. Your daughter has expressed that she doesn't wish to see you. Continuing to pursue contact constitutes harassment." I looked at Sophie, pleading. "Is that true? You don't want to see me?" She wouldn't meet my eyes. After a long moment, she nodded. "Please go, Dad." It felt like being stabbed. But I left, because forcing the situation would only push her further away. As I walked back to my car, I realized I was crying. Not just for Sophie, but for all the parents watching their children disappear into organizations that destroyed them under the guise of building them up. That night, I made a decision. If the university wouldn't help, if Sophie couldn't see the truth yet, I'd find another way. I'd bring down Apex Council myself. I'll post more soon. Need to gather my thoughts about what happened next. But if you're reading this and your kid is in something similar, trust your gut. If they seem scared, exhausted, and defensive about an organization that claims to be helping them, dig deeper. Don't let them disappear the way Sophie almost did. Final update. It's been 3 months since everything exploded, and I'm finally ready to write about how we took down Apex Council. This is going to be long, but I need to document it all. After Sophie told me to leave campus, I felt defeated. But I refused to give up. I contacted every former member I could find, building a network of people who'd survived Apex Council. Together, we created a detailed document outlining the organization's practices: sleep deprivation, psychological manipulation, threats, exploitation. We had testimonies from 15 former members spanning 12 years. Then I hired a lawyer, Gregory Brennan, who specialized in institutional abuse cases. He reviewed our documentation and agreed we had grounds for multiple lawsuits, against the university for enabling abuse, against specific faculty members for failing to protect students, and potentially against Apex Council's leadership for intentional infliction of emotional distress. But lawsuits take time, and Sophie didn't have time. By early March, I got a call from her roommate. "Mr. Patterson, I think you should come to campus. Sophie collapsed during class today. They took her to the hospital." I broke every speed limit getting there. At the hospital, I found Sophie in a bed, hooked up to an 4. The doctor explained she was severely dehydrated, malnourished, and showing signs of extreme physical and psychological stress. "When's the last time she slept more than 3 hours?" he asked. "I don't know. She won't talk to me." Sophie was unconscious, her body finally shutting down from exhaustion. I sat by her bed, holding her hand, and made a promise. "I'm getting you out of this. I don't care what it takes." When Sophie woke up, she was disoriented. "What happened?" "You collapsed. Your body couldn't take it anymore." Fear immediately flooded her face. "I need to get back. They're expecting me." Chancellor Brooks. "Sophie, look at yourself. You're in a hospital. This organization is killing you. You don't understand. If I don't complete my assignments, they'll expel me from the council. I'll lose everything." "You've already lost everything," I shouted, then immediately regretted it. Sophie started crying, these broken sobs that tore me apart. I pulled her into a hug, and for the first time in months, she didn't pull away. She clung to me like a child, crying into my shoulder. "I'm so tired, Dad," she whispered. "I'm so tired." "I know, baby. I know, but I can't stop. If I stop, I'm worthless. They told me. They lied to you. Everything they told you was a lie." She cried for an hour. When she finally calmed down, I asked the question I'd been too afraid to ask before. "Sophie, do you want to leave Apex Council?" She was quiet for a long time. Then, barely audible, "I don't know how. I'll help you. But you have to trust me." She nodded weakly. That nod was all I needed. The doctor kept Sophie in the hospital for 3 days for observation and recovery. During that time, she wasn't allowed visitors except family, which meant Apex Council members couldn't reach her. Without their constant reinforcement, I watched Sophie slowly start to come back to herself. She slept. She ate. The color returned to her face. On the second day, she asked to see her phone. I'd been holding on to it, and I was hesitant to give it back. "There's probably hundreds of messages from them," I warned. "I know. But I need to see." I handed it over. She scrolled through the messages, her expression shifting from anxiety to disbelief to anger. They're threatening me. They're saying if I don't respond immediately, I'll be expelled from the council and reported to administration for abandoning my responsibilities. Do you see how manipulative that is? She kept reading. "They're saying I'm weak, that I'm letting down everyone who believed in me, that I'm throwing away my future." Her hands shook. "Dad, what if they're right?" "They're not. These are control tactics. Dr. Okonkwo explained it to me. They're trying to scare you back into compliance." "Who's Dr. Okonkwo?" I told her about the cult specialist, about everything I'd learned. Sophie listened, and I could see the realization dawning. "It is a cult, isn't it? Oh my God, I was in a cult. You're not the first, and unfortunately, you won't be the last. But you're getting out now." On the third day, when Sophie was discharged, I didn't take her back to campus. I took her home. She'd withdrawn from the university for the semester citing medical reasons. Gregory Brennan had helped facilitate this, ensuring Westmont couldn't retaliate academically. But Apex Council didn't give up easily. They showed up at our house 2 days after we got home. Rebecca Hood, the faculty advisor, stood on our doorstep with 2 student leaders. "We need to speak with Sophie about her commitments." "Sophie isn't accepting visitors," I said. "This isn't a social call. Sophie made commitments to Apex Council. She can't simply walk away. Watch her." Ms. Hood's expression hardened. "Mr. Patterson, you're making a serious mistake. Apex Council has connections throughout this state. We can make things very difficult for Sophie's future." "Are you threatening my daughter?" "I'm informing you of reality. Sophie's academic record, her references, her opportunities, all of that goes through us. If she abandons her responsibilities, there will be consequences." I pulled out my phone and started recording. "Please, continue threatening us. My lawyer will love this." Ms. Hood's face went pale. Without another word, she turned and left with her students. I sent the recording to Gregory immediately. Over the next few weeks, Sophie underwent intensive therapy with Dr. Okonkwo and a local trauma specialist. The process was brutal. Sophie had to confront how thoroughly she'd been manipulated, how they'd exploited her desire for achievement and fear of failure. She cried a lot. She got angry. She grieved for the version of herself who'd been so excited to join Apex Council, not knowing it would nearly destroy her. Meanwhile, Gregory was building our case. We weren't alone. 4 other families had come forward with similar stories. Their children had also been hospitalized or had mental health crises related to Apex Council. Together, we filed a massive lawsuit against Westmont University and specifically named Apex Council's leadership and faculty advisors. The university tried to settle quietly, offering money if we signed NDAs. We refused. This wasn't about money. It was about exposure. Gregory contacted the media. A local news station picked up the story. Then a national outlet. Suddenly, Apex Council's abuse was national news. The university panicked. They launched an independent investigation into Apex Council, though we all knew it would be whitewashed. But the media attention was too much. More former members came forward. A journalism professor at Westmont published an exposé detailing decades of abuse. Alumni started speaking out on social media, admitting the organization had damaged them. The breaking point came when a current member, a junior named Tyler, contacted us. He provided recordings. Hours of recordings from council meetings, initiation ceremonies, and private conversations with leaders. The recordings were damning. They showed leaders explicitly discussing manipulation tactics, celebrating when members broke down, and strategizing about how to threaten students who wanted to leave. In one recording, Ms. Hood said, If they can't handle the pressure, they don't belong in Apex. We're creating future leaders, and leaders don't need sleep. They need purpose. If some students crack, that's natural selection. Another recording captured Chancellor Brooks, not a council member, but an administrator, telling leaders, "Keep doing what you're doing. Apex produces our most successful graduates. I don't care about the methods." These recordings destroyed any deniability the university had. The Board of Trustees held an emergency meeting. Within 48 hours, they announced Apex Council was permanently disbanded. Ms. Hood was terminated. Chancellor Brooks was placed on administrative leave and later resigned. Several other faculty advisors faced disciplinary action. The university also implemented new oversight for all student organizations, mandatory wellness checks for members, and created an anonymous reporting system for abuse. Our lawsuit settled. The terms are confidential, but I can say Sophie's therapy and educational costs are covered for life. More importantly, Westmont had to publicly acknowledge their failures and issue formal apologies to all former members who'd been harmed. Sophie is healing. She enrolled at a different university this fall, starting fresh. She's studying psychology, wanting to help others recognize and escape manipulative organizations. She's made friends, joined a casual book club, and most importantly, she's sleeping 8 hours a night. We talk every day now. Our relationship, which Apex Council nearly destroyed, is stronger than ever. She tells me about classes, about normal college stress, about a guy she's interested in. It's everything I wanted for her, a normal, healthy college experience. Last week, Sophie wrote an article for her new university's paper about her experience. She didn't name Westmont or Apex specifically, but she detailed the warning signs of abusive organizations. If they isolate you from family, demand all your time, punish you for self-care, and make you feel worth less without them, run, she wrote. Your worth isn't determined by any organization. You're enough exactly as you are. The article went viral. Sophie's been contacted by students from other universities dealing with similar organizations. She's become an advocate, speaking at conferences about campus cults and high-control groups. Watching her turn her trauma into purpose has been incredible. A few months ago, Jennifer, the first former member I'd contacted, reached out again. She'd heard about everything that happened and wanted to thank me. "You did what my parents did for me," she said. "You saved your daughter. Not enough parents fight this hard. I almost lost her," I admitted. "But you didn't. And because of you, future students won't go through what we did." I've stayed in touch with the other families from the lawsuit. We've formed a support network, sharing resources and warning signs. We've created a website documenting abusive student organizations at universities nationwide. Parents contact us regularly, asking for advice when they notice concerning changes in their children. The work isn't done. Organizations like Apex Council exist at campuses across the country, hiding behind prestige and producing successful alumni who protect them. But every exposed organization, every student who escapes, every parent who refuses to give up, it all matters. Tyler, the member who provided the recordings, transferred to another university. He reached out to Sophie recently, and they've become friends. He told her that coming forward was the hardest thing he'd ever done, but seeing Apex Council dismantled made it worth it. "They made us believe we were nothing without them," he said. "But I'm doing fine. Better than fine. I'm actually happy." That's what Apex Council stole from its members: happiness. They convinced brilliant, driven students that suffering equaled success, that exhaustion proved commitment, that their worth depended on an organization's approval. It was all lies. Sophie graduates in 2 years. She's already been accepted into a graduate program for clinical psychology with a focus on trauma recovery. She wants to work with college students specifically, helping them recognize and escape abusive situations. Sometimes I think about that day in the hospital when Sophie finally admitted she was tired. That was the moment everything changed. She was so deep in their programming that admitting weakness felt like failure. But that admission, that honest human acknowledgement of suffering, was actually her first step toward freedom. I wish I'd recognized the signs earlier. I wish I'd pushed harder when she first started changing. But I also know cult indoctrination is designed to be invisible, especially to family members who are framed as obstacles to success. The important thing is I didn't give up. Even when Sophie pushed me away, even when she told me I was toxic, I kept fighting for her. If you're reading this and seeing similar patterns with your child, trust yourself. If your gut says something's wrong, Investigate. Document everything. Reach out to professionals who understand high-control groups. Don't let universities or organizations dismiss your concerns. Your child's well-being matters more than any prestige or opportunity. And if you're a student in an organization that demands all your time, isolates you from family, punishes you for self-care, or makes you feel worthless, please know that you deserve better. You're not weak for being exhausted. You're not failing for wanting balance. You're not throwing away your future by choosing your health. The right opportunities will never require you to destroy yourself. Sophie told me something recently that I think about a lot. Dad, thank you for not giving up on me even when I gave up on myself. I'll never give up on her. That's what being a parent means.